This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
We have quorum and it's after 6, so let's go ahead and get the meeting started. Lexi, I just want to confirm, are you taking notes for this meeting?
Yes, I am.
No, not really. Not yet.
Great, thank you. So as we start the meeting, it's 6:02, February 5th. I'm standing in as the chair today, so please bear with me. Did everyone get a copy of the agenda? I hope so. And so I'd like to open with public comment first. Do we have anything for public comment? Cindy?
Hi there. I'm just going to make a brief comment. I'm Cindy Palmer, and I'm chair of the Open Space Committee. I believe everybody here is aware that in December at the special town meeting, the vote to support the Mountain Waters Project with CPC funds, that was only 12% of the full budget, thank goodness, was unanimous, and that's wonderful. There is a little more involved as we go forward. I do not have details tonight. I'm merely just giving you a little tiny heads up that the people from Kestrel, specifically Mark Walmsley and Bridget Likely, will be meeting tomorrow and coming up with what is going to be needed it's probably just a sort of a borrowing situation for additional CPC funding that will be fully reimbursed. It's complicated right now, and you'll get more information at the next meeting, but that would probably be a request via the Conservation Commission, not any other entity in town. So I'm sorry, I'm really short on details because I don't have them, but I will, as soon as I know some more, I will keep you informed. And all of this would be needing to go to the annual town meeting in May. So that's my comment for tonight. And I know Diana's here and might be able to give you updates on another meeting we had on Saturday on trail conservation and stewardship. Thanks.
Thank you, Cindy. I appreciate that. And that's a great project that's going forward. So I'm glad that you're on that and keeping it on track. Thank you. Anything else for open time to the public? We do have a busy agenda tonight, so I would like to keep going.
Yeah, I don't know if you want me to speak as open time to the public, or would it be better as
Diana, I think we can talk about open space later. Is this in regard to Manhan Meadows? Brickyard
Yes.
Road? Okay, yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
Okay.
This is Stephen. I have a follow-on Mountain Waters from the select board.
Sure.
The select board has designated the town administrator to be the contact person, or rather the designated signer for the Mountain Waters project for state grants and so on. It's a bunch of red tape, but that is the fact. And I'm pleased to report that we have hired a new town administrator. And given the transition, I'm not sure how familiar he will be with these sorts of transactions or the history leading up to it. So I just wanted to volunteer to the commission and to George that as the town has responsibility to review conservation restrictions that it'll be holding, I would be more than interested to assist in a technical review. I worked in Joel Lerner's office when the first handbook was written, and I've followed on, been part of redrafting the Massachusetts CR model document right along. So I'm not 100% current, but I certainly understand the Massachusetts model and have written a couple of dozen of these conservation restrictions. So obviously I'd need input from this group, at least, maybe broader one, about the scope of restrictions and rights in the restriction. But I think, at the end of the day, we'll be mostly pitching any gross errors and making sure that it really does align with our management objectives. Not any suspicion that it won't, just making sure that we keep our options open. So I'm available. I can present my credentials since I'm brand new to the group, but I've done this work for 40 years. So if I can be helpful to you in that or another respect, that's Mountain Waters from the Select Board and me personally.
Great. Thanks, Stephen. Yeah, I think maybe we'll move on from this topic now because there is still so much information to be determined about that. I don't know if we even have co-holders and, whether or not the town's going to hold a fee lined up yet. But Kestrel is working with Cindy. And so I know there's a lot of smart people working on this project, and it'll be good to have folks on the town side who are aware as well. So I'd like to move on to new business. We have a couple RDAs. The first RDA I'd like to talk about tonight is the 29 Bloomer Road. Ryan Gallagher, am I saying that correctly? Is Ryan Gallagher here? Represented by Barry Searle. Sorry, go ahead, Barry.
I'm here. Yeah, I'm here to answer any questions you've got about this. This is a replacement septic system for a system that failed its Title V inspection. So we laid it out as well as we could to meet the requirements of Title V with also full respect and diligence towards the Wetlands Protection Act. What we did was situated the leach field just beyond 100 feet from the water's edge. The tank, however, by necessity, needed to be closer to the house than that, and which is where the RDA comes in to effect. We got it set 10 feet from the foundation, which is a Title V requirement, but I think it's spaced roughly 85 feet or so from the water's edge, and that's why we're here. I have it on my computer here. I know the copies have been furnished to your commission. I don't know if you're able to see it in this format or not, but just here to answer any questions you might have with respect to that project.
Right. Yeah, I would like to pull up a screen share or a plan. I'm juggling through the documents now. If I give you access to share your screen, could you demo that plan?
Sure.
Okay.
Happy.
Okay, Mr. Searle, go ahead.
I'm not seeing anything different from before.
Okay, you don't have a screen share option?
I don't see it. No. I'm not the most techno savvy person on the planet. All I see is our gallery of people here at this meeting right now.
Okay. Let me see if I can find it. I'm sorry. All right. So just my question for you, are we moving the septic tank closer to the jurisdictional area with the new plan?
All right, let me see. The old one from the existing tank encroaches where the existing tank is that failed, actually encroaches within where the new leach field needs to be. So to answer your question, yes, the new tank is slightly closer to the house than the old one was. But the leach field is farther away. Looks like.
Okay, I'm going to pull up a map. I don't actually have the plan or I don't have that in front of me.
Okay. I see that. Yep.
About some imagery, and we're talking about 29
Right.
Bloomer
Yes.
Road here. Okay, that's a piano key property. So is it
So,
uphill over here of the house?
okay, if you move your cursor down, right where you are now is a dark area, which probably represents the lawn, although it looks like it would be trees. I think that's actually the lawn. So your cursor, if you go down a wee bit, yeah, see that dark line that goes across there? And I think you see the edge of the house, right? So, yes, right. So above that is where the new tank and new leach field will be. I measured it on the ground and then I scaled it on the drawing that the new leach field is beyond the 100 feet from the water's edge. Not the property line, which you see on the bottom, looks like it's actually out in the water there. We measured the water itself.
Okay. Yeah, it's right on the jurisdictional line there. Anyone else from the Conservation Commission want to weigh in? George?
Members of the commission, I have visited the site twice. I don't see any problems, and as was indicated, it is quite away from the resource area, and I would recommend a negative number 3.
Which is jurisdictional but no impact?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I tend to agree with you.
Okay.
Members of the commission, do we have a motion for a negative 3?
Jake, if I may, you need to close the hearing first before voting on the motion.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Issue.
Yeah, Barry, if that's it, I'd like to close the hearing.
Okay. Yep.
Brittany, I saw you come back on screen. Do you have anything to add?
No,
Pointers?
That's good. I agree. So, yeah, I will agree with your motion.
Do we have a second from the commission for a negative 3?
I'll second.
Thank you. And voting, Haley,
Aye.
Richard,
Sorry, aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Taylor,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Great. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Barry.
Thank you. Can I presume an order of conditions will fall or any kind of paperwork beyond this vote?
Jake, if I may, it's not an order of conditions in this case. It's a what's called an RDA, or Form 2. It has to be completed by yours truly and signed. If you want to come, I'll let you know when it's ready to be picked up, or I have to mail it certified mail.
Okay. That sounds good. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to the next, we have another RDA at 160 East Street with a representative from VHB.
Hi, good evening. My name is Steve Herzog. I'm a professional wetland scientist with VHB, and we submitted this RDA to seek the Commission's confirmation that the project and the area of the project will not affect wetlands or buffer zone. I see you're, showing the overview. Okay, yep. This is Bashista Orchards and Cider Mill. The purpose of the project is to construct an agrivoltaic system, which is agriculture and solar energy together. So over the existing hayfield and existing fruit orchard and expanded fruit orchard. bottom line is the closest wetland resource area to the project, the area of disturbance, is over 450 feet away. It's not down gradient, but we decided, as we thought it would be courteous, to give the commission the opportunity to see the project and make an official determination. I'd be happy to answer questions, or I could also show you the drawing that accompanied the RDA submittal, or presumably you all seen it.
If you have the ability to share your screen and would like to present the plan you're talking about, that would be excellent.
Sure. Okay. Can you see my screen?
I cannot, but it could just be me.
It says...
Yeah.
I have a little icon that says you are screen sharing. Can anyone see it?
It says you're screen sharing. I must be doing something wrong.
I'm the least experienced, but do you need to stop sharing your screen?
Yeah, here we go.
Looks good from here.
Stephen, looks good.
Oh, you can see it? Okay, good, good. So the drawing shows the entire parcel, but our project area is really here. There are two areas that will have solar arrays built over agriculture. Here on the right are two sections of array that will be constructed over the fruit orchard, and down here on the left over existing hayfield. And to make this more clear, I made a figure with the work area outlined. So there's an access road off of East Street. Here's the orchard buildings, house, and this little store. Access road, then going up the hill to the fruit orchard, and then down here to the hayfield. So the area of disturbance is marked by this line, limit of disturbance, some additional tree clearing. It's about 450 feet away from this nearest wetland, which is a small BVW that drains down away to the east. And then there's nothing else on the parcel side over the roads.
I know in the past other towns have had this situation with these large solar projects where a lot of topsoil and just erosion occurs. Will there be erosion controls on the job site?
There will be erosion controls, yes. And also there will be no topsoil removal, because the objective of this agrivoltaic project is to continue the land in use for agriculture. So there will be some, I should say, there'll be some topsoil removal to construct the access road. But there will be erosion controls, perimeter controls, and then a operational period stormwater management system. But here, the large areas of the array will see no soil removal at all. Tree removal, if necessary, stump removal in the array areas, but no topsoil removal and no grading. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. Stephen, I have to look this up for myself in case I have to recuse myself. Is this an agricultural preservation restriction?
I'm not aware of that.
I'm sorry, the other Stephen. It is also my understanding that it's not under an APR. But
Okay.
Through the chair, I had a question for my namesake.
Yes.
You've been before the planning board and received site plan approval, special permit, and stormwater permit.
Yes.
And yet I have kept my eyes open driving around the valley. You know that I'm supportive of the concept, but the execution is always determinative of a quality project. Up in Hatfield, Norse Farms, on the opposite side from their built facilities towards the river, is one hell of a mess. It's absolutely flat agricultural land of the highest value. And I would guess that they're doing something that would be classified the same as your project. Could you compare and contrast if you know anything about that operation?
Honestly, I don't know anything about that operation. With regard to this operation, again,
silt soils, and despite the fact that and they would not have to alter topography, and the runoff may not go very far. It's a surprising mess between the staging of the materials. Maybe you can speak to your limited staging area, and then whatever the site prep is that's going on. It may be apples and oranges. Forgive me if that's the case. Do you want to speak to where you're going to stage your materials?
Sure. This area down here will be a laydown area. It will be surrounded by perimeter erosion control. And equipment will be brought along the access road up here to install the solar panels.
The panels will be supported how? I found that discussion quite illuminating.
They will most likely be driven directly into the soil. I see my colleague Mike Z from Blue Wave is on right now. Mike, is that the case? They'll be driven?
Hi, yeah, Mike Z from Blue Wave on behalf of the applicant. Thank you for hearing the project this evening, Commission. It is contemplated presently, yes, they will be pile-driven posts, steel posts.
Does this contrast the typical ground-mounted solar?
It does, yes. And also to answer your question before I get into that, this it's under my understanding as well, this is not an APR. We, as part of the SMART program, Solar Massachusetts Renewable Target Program, we applied for predetermination application with DOER and MDAR for an agrivoltaic array. And one of the restrictions there is to not be able to develop as an agrivoltaic project in land in APR. And so to get into more detail on that, and how this differs from a typical ground mount array, a couple of reasons how it's different. One, it's an elevated array, so the driven posts will be up to 10 feet high where the modules are. This is a single axis tracker array, so when it's horizontally stowed, the modules will be at minimum 10 feet high. And then as it tracks from east to west, the lowest point, approximately 7, highest point to 14. There's also wider spacing within this array. The array on the eastern side here has 26 feet row spacing. That's where we're going to expand the orchard area for the Batistas. And then the array to the west has 18 feet inter-row spacing where the rows are. A typical ground-mounted array has the heights around 6 to 8 feet at maximum. They also have tighter inter-row spacing to anywhere from 8 to 12 feet typically.
Great. Thank you, Mike and Stephen. Committee, are we ready to close the hearing?
Jake, may I comment first?
Please go ahead.
I just wanted to point out that I think this is only the second or third time in the last, basically in my career, that I've had DEP comment on an IDA application. They raised issues basically with the narrative, and Mr. Herzog has corrected, quote unquote, the narrative to, in my opinion, satisfy DEP's concerns. In light of that, I would recommend the commission issue a negative number 1.
Commission, do we have a motion to uphold the agent's recommendation?
I will make a motion to accept the -1.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
I think it was Haley, but thank you, Stephen. Motion to approve, Haley,
Aye.
Richard,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Taylor,
Aye.
Lehan, aye. Any discussion? Okay, great. Thank you all. Thank you, VHB and Mike. Appreciate the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and our last RDA of the day at 39 Glendale Road. Applicant Richard and Carol McNone. Am I saying that correctly? Represented by Barry Searle again. Mr. Searle?
Yes. Hi. Thank you for this opportunity. So we have a failed septic system here as well. I can't do the screen share with my existing technology. I don't know if you can do that on your end.
Let's see.
There should be an option at the bottom of the screen if you move the cursor down.
I don't see any on mine. I don't see anything like that.
You should have a menu of options, and next to participants, you'll see share screen.
Oh, it's up on the top.
Oh, it's on the top. Okay.
AirDrop, mail messages, notes, Dropbox transfer. I don't think that's what you want, is it?
I mean, alternatively, if we have a copy of the plan and email, I can try to pull that up.
We did furnish that to you, yes.
Okay. George, do you know if that went out to the commission?
Yeah, Jake, if you need a copy, I can email it to you.
Okay, please do.
Just give me a minute.
39 Glendale. I mean, in the meantime, I can pull up a map here.
Okay. So
I'm having issues with the map too.
There's the Glendale Road.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, there we go.
oh, you got it though.
Okay. Is this helpful for your presentation?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. 39, you can see see the road, see the house. The existing tank, the existing system is comprised of a septic tank and then what's called a seepage pit, which is about roughly the same size as a septic tank. And those are both between the house and the bottom property line. And the topography there is pretty high compared to where we're proposing the leach field out and back, where it makes a lot more sense to put. And that green area that you see is shown on my plan is a considerable distance away from our work. But what triggered the RDA was a brook, which doesn't show up on this particular map here. The town GIS had it, I believe, and actually we had the benefit of an actual survey drawing upon which I based my work. And that's what shows up on my drawing. Yeah, you can see that looks like 628 feet. That does not really enter into our thought process, really. There you go. Okay. Is there a way you can rotate that?
Yeah, I think I have to actually open it. Here we go.
All right, here we go. Okay.
Sorry about that.
So you can see up here at the top, right beneath the north arrow, is that wetland that we were talking about from the other shot. And then below that, we've got the brook. I drew in the 50-foot setback line and the 100-foot setback line from the brook. And you can see to the left of the house on the bottom there, where the existing tank comes out to the existing seepage pit, which are both failed. So, yep, down below to the left there, you'll see the new tank right there, exactly. And that's right there is the existing failed seepage pit. If you go up a wee little bit, that dotted box there is the existing tank. So our proposal is to pump those both of whatever contents they have, crush them, fill them in place, and leave them be. Then from there, we intercept that existing pipe coming out the foundation to the new tank, which is a little bit to your left. See where that G, that tree marked G is on the left there? A little over, yeah. That rectangle underneath there is the new septic tank. So we intercept that. It comes out by gravity into that tank. And then you'll see the new leach field, 12 feet wide by 40 feet long, basically behind the house there. And you'll see that that's within, it's beyond the 50 feet from the brook, but it's within the 100 feet. And I drew in a sedimentation barrier down gradient of that leach field, that proposed leach field. The other thing to make note of is these little blotches with the numbers on them are trees, oak trees that need to be removed as a part of this project. Number one is right in the middle of the leach field. 2 and 3 is right by that stockade fence, very close to the house. And then 2, 4, 5 are right there, you can see. And then 6 is by the proposed septic tank. So in Title V, there's not a specific provision about the proximity of trees and their root systems to a leach field, but generally the rule of thumb is 10 feet in terms of professional practice. So, certain tree species, the crown of the tree matches the root ball, but not always. It depends on the species. And oaks do not have a taproot, so they tend to sprawl out further.
Do you have any comments or concerns from the commission, sorry? I find this one a bit less straightforward than the original septic tank, the first septic tank RDA that we looked at today. It's a lot closer. We're looking at a stream. There's tree removal involved.
Jake, may I comment?
Sure, go ahead, George.
Thank you. Again, I have visited the site. I've talked to the applicant and the applicant's professional representative. Given there are slopes here, and although they're quite a distance from the resource area, I would recommend a negative number 3 with the stipulations outlined in my agent's report.
Do you know those stipulations? Do you have those here now?
Well, I used the numbered stipulation model, if you will. For instance, it requires the erosion control to be installed and inspected before any work is done. If new problems arise while work is being done, we have to be notified. They're basically a lot of the standardized stipulations the commission used previously. It's just I put them in a numbered form and attached them to the email with my agent's report.
Okay. Would it be helpful if I pulled that up now for the commission? I do remember looking that over.
You want the numbers that I'm recommending?
George, maybe you can tell me, is this the correct document? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. For instance, one of the ones I'm recommending is the commission must be notified before work actually starts. The commission is imposing the right to put on additional, oh, there they are, right. And as you go down, scroll down on that a bit, you'll see the narrative for each one of those checked boxes.
Yeah.
Is this the same standard conditions that you recommended for our, I'm familiar with this with the order of conditions, but I didn't know we could apply these to RDAs as well.
The commission has a legal right to impose conditions on all permits that they issue. The biggest difference is if the commission's issuing an order of conditions, these pages that you now have up in the screen will actually be recorded in the land records. This is an RDA. It does not get recorded. It's just putting on some procedural conditions, if you will, excuse me, that would go along with this particular RDA. For instance, if you look at stipulation number 44, it says that you can't remove the barriers until authorized by the commissioner agent. Number 41 basically states that if the erosion reaches half of the distance of the height of the erosion barriers, it has to be removed. Those are the type of stipulations the commission normally would use. This is just a different format.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet in this application, but I remember you drafting this for us earlier in the order of conditions. This all makes a lot of sense to me.
Certainly agreeable to us.
I'm trying to get my order of operations here correctly. Yeah, thank you everyone for who's here bearing with me. I'm not normally the chair of these meetings. Does this conclude our hearing on the topic, on the RDA?
I do have one last question or comment. The suggestion was made about leaving the stumps of the cut trees in place for stabilization. Speaking for my clients, I don't think we're opposed to that, except in the case where they are physically within the footprint of the leach field, for example. And I think we agreed tree number one would be in that category. And
I agree.
The one that's near the septic tank, I think as long as the when the installer goes to put this in, as long as he's not surprised by something, and to the extent that he can move them out of his way, so to speak, to do what he has to do, I think we're in agreement with that concept.
Great, thank you. That's a good point.
All right.
Commissioners, do we have a motion to accept the agent's recommendation?
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you all. And we'll do a roll call for the vote. Haley,
Aye.
Richard,
Aye.
Johnson,
Johnson, aye.
Taylor,
Aye.
Weehan, aye. Great, thank you. Anyone, do we have any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Barry. Great presentation.
Thank you. Should I stick around for the Wolf Hill part of the agenda that's coming up?
Yeah, I think we're going to get to that soon in old business or property maintenance.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thanks. Okay, I gotta find my notes. All right, old business. The first item we have for old business is 14 High Street with Janet Brown. Ms. Brown, are you here?
Yes. I can't. Okay, yes.
Okay, we see you now. I understand you applied for an amendment to the original order of conditions for the dam on your property. Is that correct?
I thought George said it did not require that. Can this go away? So I have my letter that I sent to you, but it's behind all this, I think. Yeah, there. I thought, let me see the minutes of the meeting. You had said there's a brook trout breeding season, and George said he made a site visit, recommends the beaver. Suggested applying for an amendment to the order of conditions. Well, if that's what it takes, I truly don't understand. We will be happy to drain the pool. Okay. Is that what it takes, an amendment to the order of conditions to change the time of year, which you put in the minutes on November 6th?
Yeah, I believe so. Exactly how that paperwork is done, perhaps George could give us some guidance on that.
Well, it was my understanding that Ms. Brown wanted to change the time to start the drawdown.
Yes, please.
And the time to start the drawdown is clearly specified in the stipulations of approval attached to the orders of conditions. Ergo, that would require a formal amendment to the orders. And in my opinion, it does not rise to the level where we have to go through the public hearing process under DEP policy 85-4, but it could be done, should the commission agree, via a what is called an amendment by minutes, i.e. the minutes reflect that the commission agreed to change the drawdown date to, or the minutes would reflect the commission voted to keep the drawdown date as is.
Okay.
So basically, it is my opinion that Ms. Brown needs to, in essence, quote, convince, unquote, the commission of why the drawdown date needs to be changed.
To prevent the beavers from coming into our property. This is the first time since 1931 that we've had beavers. And the damage. And I offered that you take a walk around if the commission would like to take a walk around and see all the damage that they've caused.
Yeah, if I could just weigh in, I think we're on your side with this. It does sound like that you've had significant issues with beavers with the agreed on drawdown date, which I believe was in November.
Well, no, it was October the 18th, but that was only for last year. As it said that I was given permission to do it last year. And have to discuss it. In the minutes, it said that, where does it say that possibly we're going to apply for an amendment to change the time of year for restriction. So I would like to see if possibly we could go back to what we've always done for 92 years and draw the water down so that the beavers won't come back and destroy our property.
Okay, that's right. Thank you. I forgot that we had, it was under an emergency situation at that time, and we
For
had
last year,
an early
yeah.
drawdown
Yeah,
in October.
And the beavers had already come, and George walked around. He saw it. So the beavers were already here. We did get rid of those, I think, because the pool is empty now. But if we could go back to what we've always done, I don't think we'll have the problem.
And what date are you requesting? Is that
Somewhere around Labor Day, which we've always done. And you mentioned that has something to do with the brook trout. We don't have fish in this pool for some reason. We've never had trout, or I don't know anything about fish, but we just have minnows and bullfrogs. We don't ever, I've never seen a fish in the pool at all.
Yeah, I just remembered I was joining the commission at the time too, so I'm explaining it like this to, help everybody understand the full breadth of the story and the history here.
Sure.
Yeah, I haven't been to the site since you had the Tigan Bond consultant out with us, but I think that the time of year restriction came into play because the stream that drains from your pool feeds into a cold water fishery that's been designated by Mass Fish and Wildlife. So that's
Where
where
is that?
it came on.
What's a cold water fishery?
It's just a cold brook trout habitat. It's a stream
Where is
downstream
that?
of your stream. It's downstream of you.
Well, this doesn't go very far. It goes from our house down behind one other house, and then it goes under Route 10, and then it goes into the Manhan. I don't know where there's another pond that would be down there.
Yeah. So, how does the commission feel about making, was it a minutes motion, a minutes amendment to the drawdown date? We've also been invited for another site visit. It doesn't sound like there's much to see now. There's less beaver activity, and the water's
There's no beaver activity, and there's no snow, so whatever works for the commission.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It really is, because we worked hard on that date. It was what the consultant had come up with for the time of year restriction. And to walk it all the way back 2 months, it's not in keeping with what the restriction was there for, but I think we are amenable to changing it to prevent issues in the future.
I feel like we might just have to circle back around to this. Yeah, I kind of agree, Jake, with where you're coming from.
Stephen has a question. Was a consultant Tigan Bond, whoever the consultant was, would they give a quick review of the proposed change? I have not heard anything that would change but the pool level in a pond. And what I think is a concern downstream in Potash Brook, which is a sensitive resource and pool water stream, if nothing else, is the run of the brook would not be affected. I hadn't heard that anything but the pool elevation would change. So could someone clarify the facts for me? And maybe I'm just not following the implications, but there's a suggestion that if the run of the river is maintained, Ty and Bond might find that that's not a significant impact to change the dates of the drawdown.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I don't think that changing the dates of the drawdown is really the most critical thing, so much as the drawdown was done in just that way, that it was a drawdown over time and that it was like a gradual process, as to not scour out the stream and flood the cold water fishery with warm water from the impoundment. Stephen, that's the habitat concern that was addressed, was that the pool contains warm water and that dewatering too quickly would disrupt brook trout in their spawning season, which is right around
fall spawning. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds like it's been well discussed, and I'm very, very sympathetic to landowners' land management prerogatives always, but whether enforcing a conservation restriction or more particularly the regulations, I think this goes right to the heart of the habitat value. So it could be further explored for sure, but the rationale is clear to me. And with all due sympathy to Janet.
I believe, I'm not sure who would know this. I was so new to the commission at the time, I don't entirely recall, but I think that we had sent this project out for review. We had paid for review from a consultant. Brittany, do you remember?
I've only been on here about 5 years myself. I would have to go back and look. Like I said, I think we might have to table this for now to the next meeting.
Yeah, I feel like what's missing for me.
I think we just need some more information.
Yeah, like what information are we looking for if we're going to make this change? I mean, I think this does go beyond a meeting minutes amendment. It would be nice to understand like the resource impact here. We had moved it up 15 days. I feel like moving it up 15 days is not as big of a deal as moving it up 2 months. So if what was being asked was a few weeks earlier versus a few months earlier, perhaps we would be more amenable to that. But frankly, I'm not sure we have enough information to make that call.
Could we move it up then to October the 1st from November 1st? Because I think that's when the beavers start doing their destruction. Move it up a month.
Move it up a month. I think October the 1st sounds better to me.
You try that.
Trout.
Last year I was approved to October the 18th. If we could move it to say maybe the end of September or something.
And again, like, maybe I am coming from some ignorance of brook trout spawning. I don't know when they do. I don't know the extent of the brook trout populations downstream.
But if we don't have any fish in the pool, is that an issue? I've been here since 1973 and I've never seen a fish in the pond at all. So.
Janet, what I heard Josh explain, it could be consistent with what you're describing as your experience. Your pond catches water not that large a catchment, but it sits in the pond for some amount of time and warms up. And so it doesn't have fish, it's got frogs. Downstream, DEP has identified that it's got unknown contamination problems, bacterial problems, as I recall. And the same with this segment of the Manhan River that receives it. Anything that can speed up the flow so that it doesn't warm up and that it keeps the stream channel wet helps the brook trout or other native species. And brook trout do spawn later than September. So I think it's a question that merits further look. And my heart is breaking. I'm really sympathetic to your desire. Beavers can be a profound nuisance and terrible expense. I hope we can find a good compromise here.
Jake? I'd like to point out that under statute, that if any professional review and this is done, it's at the applicant's expense.
That was my suspicion. It's hard to say, you know, we're keeping in step with the seasonal restrictions here. Spawning happens in September and October, and that's why the drawdown was in November. And the spawning is downstream. It's not necessarily in the pool. I don't have a solution for you here now. And I'm wondering if we would have to table this and hear from an expert.
Who is the expert? And who arranges for that?
Well, I mean, we can certainly reach out to any of our colleagues, and just see what their recommendation is. I mean, we have time because our next meeting is going to be in March. We don't have another meeting in February because of the holiday. So we can definitely put you on the agenda and hopefully have more answers for you the next meeting.
Thank you.
I would consider
whatever their new name is, the Department of Fish and Game, the state agency that includes fisheries, has online a resource about pool water fisheries, cold water fisheries, and hopefully a link to some live person at the agency that might be responsive and not, obviously, not charge you a fee the way a consultant of unknown pedigree would.
Yeah, I mean, Janet, we don't want to have to make you pay if we can find the answer another way, but I think just all of us on the commission, pulling together what we know, I think we just still don't have all the information we need.
Thank you.
Okay.
Jake, a question, if I may. It appears that the commission is going to carry this over to the next meeting. But between now and the next meeting, is there any clear directive from the commission as to what they would like the agent to try and do?
I mean, George, if you're able to find out, I would just need a little time. I'm dealing with so much brain fog right now, but I would need to just go back and look at, unless you want to look in some of the files and see what you can find. If we have had any other consults done, but we can certainly reach out to, I don't know if Mark Stinson could be of help. But we can certainly, I'm sure there's somebody that we can talk to who can guide us.
Okay, I just want to make sure you're not looking for me at this point in time to go out to, a professional consultant.
I don't think so, no.
Good. Then I will absolutely review the file, see if there's any distinct reasoning, excuse me, in there for the time that was selected.
Yeah.
As the drawdown. And I'll bring that to the commission's attention for their next meeting.
Sounds great. Is that okay, Janet?
Yes, thank you very much. So will it be posted when your next meeting is in first Monday in March or something?
First Monday in March, I believe the 4th.
Yeah, and I might be on the agenda.
You will be on the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And hopefully we can resolve this before next drawdown season. We'll look into
In October, November. I hope so too.
You
We
got
gotta
time.
put it up first before we can draw it down. Thank you.
Thank you for your time on this.
Thank you for your help.
Okay, back to the notes. We have Quigley Road, Pellegrini Estates.
Good evening. This is Heather Pellegrini. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you for your time. First of all, I've asked to be on your agenda just to go over the details of the stop work order that we received, threatening fines of $300 a day. That was received on January 16th. I'll keep my comments brief, but I do need to point out the egregiousness of the notice. First and most gross error is the fact that we don't own any property in the subdivision. We haven't for many years. The property deeds in the land records are written by lawyers, and they're written in a way that all responsibility and legal liability is transferred to the individual lot owners and subsequent HOA. This is the way it is with all subdivisions that are done in the town, at least since the new bylaws were passed about 15 years ago, I guess. The second most glaring error was we're not doing any work, being that we don't own any of the land. We're not doing any work. The only work I'm aware of is something that was approved by the commission back in November, but again, we're not involved. Third, the certificate of compliance that the commission is looking for was legally filed. That was done in October of 2017, which was the day after Conservation Commission approved that certificate of compliance. A little bit of confusion. The notice that was sent to us requested a different document, a certificate of completion. That's not what they were looking for. It was this certificate of compliance. Just a little confusion there. Come to find out, the only reason that the commission could not find the certificate of compliance was they were misspelling our name. Again, I don't know what else to say other than it's just an error. When I pointed that out, they were able to find the records. The email address on the letter sent also had a typo, so my response was bounced back. A little bit more confusion. I guess the worst and most unsettling part of the whole experience was the fact that after I provided the proof of the certificate of compliance having been legally recorded at the Registry of Deeds over 6 years ago, I was still threatened with fines due to a missing piece of paper in a file that I have no control over. At the same time this was being stated, I was told that the original order of conditions wasn't in the file. It was a very strange experience. I felt threatened. I requested to begin recording the conversation, and at that point, the conversation finished because that request to record was denied. So I just wanted to summarize that experience with you with the CONSCOM. I would respectfully ask perhaps some procedural changes might be implemented, such as the commission looking at these things, maybe voting on them before threatening fines are sent out to people, especially in these kind of complex deed transfers where it's all handled, by lawyers essentially. It's imperative that dot the I's and cross the T's, and maybe even legal guidance should be consulted to avoid potential harassment claims from people. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Heather. And I'm sorry. I'm profoundly sorry that this disrupted your life and your business here. I know that we're working on it. We're looking at policy changes that we can do. And I am just really sorry. I'm not as familiar with this project. It sounded like it was a It was a subdevelopment, and I could see that being very disruptive for your business. So again, I apologize.
That's very much appreciated again, and thank you for your time, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you. You as well. Okay. Do we have any further discussion on that topic? Okay, we are moving into regular business. The first item I have here is the conservation agent's report with mention of Red Brook Estates and Wolf Hill Conservation Area.
Jake, I have received the reports for both of the those areas, Red Brook and Wolf Hill. I have frankly and unfortunately not have the time yet to get out to follow up on some of the issues raised, especially the ones for Red Brook. The commission should be aware of the fact that the town does not hold the CR on Red Brook, nor does the town own any property there. But I do have permission from the governing board to go out there and look at it. I had to wait for some of the snow to melt, and I have to wait for the soil to stabilize because I almost fell about 30 feet into the water the last time I was out there. So I will report on both of those areas to the commission as soon as I can get out there. I would also like to bring up three other issues, if I may. One, the Clearwater CR report has been forwarded to the commission. If you have any questions or anything you'd like me to look at, please get back in touch with me, and I'll obviously be glad to do that. Next, we have received a number of complaints from what could be abutters to the Lyman property forest cutting plan. I have reached out to DCR Forester. I have some questions concerning the mapping that was submitted, the notification of abutters, any comments that were made on the forest cutting plan. And as soon as I have those, I will, in fact, report back to the commission. If I may, I have three other issues, excuse me. One, the health department has established a site visit at 177 and 178 Brickyard Road. The police, fire, health, and conservation have been invited to attend this this site visit. I am 100% sure that there are violations on site. Most of the, quote, junk, for lack of a better term, unquote, on the site is within jurisdiction. I have prepared a enforcement order, which I also have forwarded to the commission, which I will issue if the commission is okay with it at that site visit, and then bring it to the commission for ratification at the next meeting, which will be the 4th. And are there any questions so far? I know I'm going quickly. Okay, final two. In my agent's report under item 1.4, I've suggested a new standard stipulation, and this has to do with permeable paved surfaces. And there's been quite a discussion among the MSMCP concerning the fact that if these surfaces are not maintained, they cease to be permeable after about a year. So I've suggested a stipulation that if we ever get any permits in that show these being installed, such as on a patio, that this stipulation be approved. Of course, that would be submitted with the application, but I'll take any comments the commission may have at this time. Finally, in conjunction with the correspondence with the chair, I have developed a policy on public participation, which I have forwarded to you. I'd request the commission formally vote to send that to legal counsel for review. And this is in line with the recent state Supreme Court case. All of the items identified as bullet points have specifically been authorized by the state Supreme Court, i.e. the commission could limit the amount of time a person may talk. If the person talking to the commission says that starts to interrupt other speakers, that disruptor can be removed. I'd ask the commission to formally vote to send this to council for review, and if council comes back and says okay, it comes back with changes, then the commission could formally adopt this. This was prepared to allow the commission to have some guidelines on when the public wishes to speak to the commission on non-public hearing issues. Obviously, public hearing issues, people can speak to them. And I'd answer any questions the commission may have.
Thank you, George. Okay, so for this document we're looking at now, the policy for addressing the commission on items that are not public hearings, the way I'm seeing this, is this another agenda item that we would leave in our meeting? So would this be a designated time?
Well, right now on your agenda, you have open time to the public. You could leave that, and we can change the wording in this proposal, or you could change that to, public addressing the commission on non-public hearing items. So you don't have to change the agenda per se, just the wording on the agenda at that item.
Okay, because I could see this, not just trying to police behavior of people within the meetings, but also opening the meetings up for some transparency to have some back and forth with the public, and welcoming that in some ways.
It's just, there doesn't seem to be any, if you will, guidelines, quote unquote, for the public to address the Conservation Commission should they desire to do so. And this way, everybody, in my opinion, gets treated the same.
Would anyone else like to weigh in?
I mean, I think it's a good idea. We do have that open time for the public, which a lot of times we don't really have anybody to speak. But I think guidelines are always helpful. So maybe if we word it in such a way that it's more applicable to our open time for the public at the beginning of our meetings.
We can absolutely change the wording on what you have up on the screen to just say Conservation Commission policy for open time to the public.
Mm.
That's not an issue. Then you wouldn't even have to touch anything on the agenda. But the public, as well as the commission members, would be aware of these guidelines. And this all stems from the fact in that lawsuit I mentioned, the selectmen in the town were sued because they had one of the speakers removed, and the speakers claimed it was a violation of their rights to free speech, and the Supreme Court agreed. Which is why they outlined the timing and the the speaker's disruption, etc. So those are in line with that state Supreme Court case.
Madam Chair?
Yeah, of course, go ahead.
I'm wondering, this all seems very reasonable and proactive on our agents' effort. Is this not found in our current policies and procedures in the town of Southampton? We have pretty extensive policies and guidance for committees. If it isn't, it seems that this is applicable well beyond the Concom.
Right. I don't know because I'm only technically a volunteer. All we have been given is the open meeting laws. So I don't know if there's something more out there for the town.
Yeah, it's all online. I too am a volunteer on a whole lot of committees, but it is all available on townofsouthampton.org. And it might be above the Conservation Commission, at least, my question as a member of the Select Board, the Planning Board, other boards, guidelines for public participation makes an awful lot of sense. I know that prior to my time on the Select Board and continuing, they've given an awful lot of thought to structure and method of governance of the town, and in particular, the roles of commissions and committees. So I applaud the work, support it. If it's duplicative of what we have, well, then we're thinking in the right vein. If we're leading the way, let's share the light. Let your light shine.
Yeah, I guess, George, you want to look into the policy for the town, the handbook, and see if there is something in there?
I did. There isn't.
There isn't? Okay.
No. And again, the big change is the Supreme Court decision last year, or 2002.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
Which really, remember, this case came about because the public officials were sued.
Mm.
So really this is protecting you.
Yeah, I mean, actually, to be perfectly honest, my family has property in Maine, very small, remote-ish town, and there's been a lot of brouhahas with their select board and not allowing people to speak, or people just being very rude and not knowing when to stop speaking. So, I mean, guidelines are always a good idea, I think, for both sides.
I agree.
So if this is not going to be redoing or rewording something that's already in place, then I think what's the harm if it's not going to be a huge disruption to our agenda and we can just reword it so it works in with our open time to the public? I mean, generally, if whatever someone brings us to during open time, if it seems like it's going to take up more than just a few minutes, we'll just kind of see if we can add it to our next agenda, which I think we've always been able to accomplish. But, it doesn't hurt to have something in writing.
Yep, I agree.
Do we need to vote on that, or?
I would suggest that the commission formally vote to send it to legal review via the town administrator.
Okay. I will make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, let's have a vote. Am I still chairing? I'm not sure anymore, but
yes, please, Jake. I am actually getting very tired, so and my voice is leaving me. So if you want to take over.
Okay. Doing a great job. I was ready to take a back seat. Yeah, let's vote. Haley?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Johnson?
Abstain. I'm not sure it's necessary, and I question whether it's going to get bounced up to the select board if it involves town council. I'm too new to vote.
That's fair. Taylor?
Aye.
Leon? Aye. And discussion? I will say, just looking at our website, if this was a link in the general responsibilities and duties, I could see that fitting right in with what we're already putting out there to the public. Okay, moving on. I want to acknowledge Barry Searle again. I'm not seeing your name on the agenda again, Mr. Searle, but you had mentioned you had some business related to Wolf Hill.
Right. I notified George by email just as an FYI that an improvement cutting is scheduled to be happening over on Wolf Hill. We don't know when. I was notified by my forester that it might be right after Christmas, and obviously that's come and gone. This, just to give you a quick little background, this is 10 acres. There was a contingency as part of the herbaceous invasive species grant that I got a couple years ago with this, actually not the state, but the federal. And so I welcome the idea. In fact, I thought it might be a nice educational tool for people that are up on the trail to see a proper logging job as opposed to one that was maybe not quite so proper nearby. So they marked out the trees that they were going to cull out of there last fall, I mean in 2022, and it was scheduled for last winter, but the ground never froze sufficiently for them to feel comfortable going in there. And we are limited to the winter time because of turtle population over there. So I don't really have much to report as far as specifics or anything definitive, but I thought you might want to know that if and when this does happen, they will need to close the trail down briefly for safety reasons, the loop trail over there. But I don't have any new information to offer you right now other than this.
Members of the commission, that report that Mrs. Seal is referring to is in my agent's report. The link is there if you want to look at it.
Okay. Yeah, I do remember seeing this in the email. And Barry, will your logger, will they be making notification to abutters?
I assume whatever procedures need to be done, they will certainly do it. The report that George is referring to is separate and apart from what I'm talking about with this improvement cut. However, that is sort of a status report, I believe, that the inspector comes out, Pete Westover, every year or every couple years. That's not really to do with what I'm talking about as far as this improvement cut.
I'm looking at copy from an email. 10-acre improvement cut sometime in the near future. Mention of closing down the loop trail. This sounds like an email from you, actually.
That's what I sent to Mr. Russell. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's good to know.
Just an FYI, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, it would be good to know, so we can help coordinate with the Open Space Committee too. We won't send people out there for trail work or anything beforehand because some of that does get messed up with the logging activity.
Right, right. And actually, I think the activity of this improvement cut is maybe not even strictly right where the trail is, but it may be right nearby to it. So I think, caution is the order of the day here.
Yeah, that is helpful. We'll have to keep that in mind.
Okay. So that's really all I had.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's really helpful. I do appreciate that. We haven't gotten everything in order so that we're having massive trail improvements all across town. I think the Manhan Meadow seems to be our focus area. But there are some conversations with other townspeople who've been interested in doing some trail work that we need to pick up again this year. So we'll point them away from Wolf Hill for now until we know what's happening.
Right. Good. All right. You have any other questions for me on this?
I think I'm all set. Do we have any other questions from the commission? Gone. Great. Well, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
You too. We can talk about property work elsewhere. It seems like a natural segue. Diana, do you want to jump in? We were kind of waiting to hear from you about Brickyard Brook and Manhattan Meadows.
Okay, sure. Well, a couple of things. A group met on Saturday at the library, sort of organized by Cindy Palmer, but an informal group who hope to do trail maintenance and trail stewardship, so they were talking about various projects and procedures, and wanted me to make sure to tell the commission that they would keep you informed of any work that they were considering or planning, and also review the open space handbook and sign the hold harmless waivers. So when they were discussing potential projects, I don't think Wolf Hill came up right away, so we don't have to worry about that right now, but they were talking about the Clark family homestead because we've already made quite a bit of progress up there. And I mentioned that to bring the bridge that we hope, will go out to bid soon into Manhattan Meadows, we had been planning years ago when we initiated all this to bring it in on the Brickyard Road side of Manhattan Meadows, because that was all included in the NOI, which expires also at the end of this year. So maybe this group could just go in there and tidy up that trail. The only thing is, I think the bridge will be moved slightly from where it used to be. That was the engineer's decision. And so the trail would need to be rerouted just slightly down at the end when it comes to the river. So we would need to get that underway. Meanwhile, we've been working on trying to get the specs for the bridge from a couple of the different consultants, and it seems to be going pretty slowly. So I submitted the progress report that was due for the grant, the Mass Trails grant, but we haven't made a whole lot of progress, and the grant expires at the end of this year. I think we have to do the bridge work in the summer to avoid some of the endangered species working around the river then. So I guess that's about it. That's, we need some guidance for what to do on that Manhattan Meadows trail on the other side of the Manhattan. And just to let you know that this group seems to be up and running and enthusiastic.
That's really excellent. I know too that we need to go out to the former, like on the Brickyard Road side abutment where the bridge used to be. We need to go back out there to plant seeds following the invasive work that we had done last year. And then we also might want to talk about whether or not we want to invite that contractor back this year. We still have money from our supplemental environmental project. And if we want to continue to knock back invasives in Manhattan Meadow, which would be my recommendation, but we do have tons of property work elsewhere that these funds can be spent. It's really excellent that there is a group of people that you're organizing with who are interested in doing trail work, though. I don't know off the top of my head, and I think I have some other questions for you too, but did we have a trail reroute plan as part of all of the
I don't think so. Not a map, you mean?
Yeah.
No, we didn't have the money initially to do, with the conservation, well, whoever did that, we just concentrated on the side from East Street and got that done. But the other side is pretty straightforward, I think, and shorter, that trail is. So that's why the thought was that it would be easier to bring the bridge, which is a few big heavy pieces, in from that access. But no, I don't think we have an actual map. It's really pretty clear up there. Or did we? I'd have to go back and look, because actually I think they were proposing another loop, which I don't know that, but this is years ago now. So
Yeah, it's taken so long. It's good to hear the bridge is moving forward. I know we got our Chapter 91.
Right.
That was huge.
But
I'm pulling up this map just to show for the folks who aren't familiar. This is kind of like the grouping of conservation properties in green, but I'm going to turn that layer off so we can look at it. It's very nice on this side of the Manhan Meadow area. I didn't know that we were considering a trail reroute. We'd probably have to see that plan, and then they'd have to go through an NOI or an RDA. Probably an RDA.
I think we have the NOI for whatever we need, at least for the wetlands. Let me look over there.
That's why I was asking about the original trail reroute, because I wasn't really familiar with what happened with the trail after it crossed the bridge that we're proposing. And for people looking at the map too, the bridge is somewhere over here. And we had trail work up to that point, but I don't know if we have anything after that would connect to Bridgeart Road under the same permits that we have.
Well, I was always told that the NOI covered that side as well. And so that was a good reason to, try to keep going with it. But I don't know where those, I think we do have a map somewhere of a planned, but
I think you're right, Diana. The more you're speaking about it, it does ring a bell. I think we do have something.
I would hope so, because that would keep us covered, and we could just extend the NOI.
Yes, let me add that to my list. I will find that. I was looking quickly through my email, but I can see it in the back of my mind, so I think I know what I'm looking for. But if I find it, I will email you.
George, what was that?
I just said I will also this week search the files in the Concom office to see what we have.
Yeah, let's look around for that. That really comes in for the trail reroute. It's a minor activity in the wetland areas. It's not a big deal. I don't know if we have a delineation out there either. I know we had Emily Stockman.
Right.
Something. Yeah, we had a whole very official looking document that we should dig up again.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just can't find it right now. And maybe I'll never find it. But I could try to track it down elsewhere and see, because I do remember, I remember they drew a little line like where else it could go. And so, but I thought that what Emily Stockman did covered completely both sides of the sanctuary, because I remember her being, in boots and really in the thick of it there on both sides. So
yeah, I could be way off, only having focused on that north side. So let me try to steer this conversation towards something more useful. We will look for that document, right?
Okay.
And Diana, can you remind me, are you our liaison for the open space committee?
Yes, I am. And I'm also an associate member because the thinking was then I could go to conferences, which I don't do. So, but
yeah, that's coming up. I think we could talk about that as well.
Yeah.
We've always supported conservation commissioners going to the statewide conference in the spring conference is coming up.
Yeah.
But that's like a little bit further away. So for open space, though, it does sound like you have a nice group of people who are willing to work on trails. Are they mostly interested in Manhan Meadows?
No, this was just, they're interested in a lot of things, and not everyone was able to come to that meeting, but I believe one of the people who was interested was the man at your last commission meeting speaking about Alice Brown. So he's interested too. And I mean, I talked about Alice Brown, Clark Family Homestead, Clearwater, Manhan Meadows. I think people also like to work near where they live. So that was kind of reflected in it. Some people have chainsaws, some people are just clipper kind of people. And so they just were people who are hoping to get outside and, make a contribution. Maybe not focus on meetings too much.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
The tentative name is Trailblazers.
Trailblazers, that's good. Yeah, I always like to remind folks in this meeting that Southampton owns a lot of property, more property than most towns do. And, we're mismanaging it if we're not doing it correctly. So I really do appreciate all the efforts that you put in and all these volunteers put in. I think we struggle to even come up with good scopes of work for them. That's something that you all have asked for in the past. Did we provide a bulleted list of items, or like, and the other side of things, if there is work that you can foresee, we could do a blanket application, NOI, RDA type of thing for trail work across multiple properties to just greenlight all kinds of work and, let some people supervise that kind of work.
But then there's the issue of wetlands, and bog crossings and stuff like that. And we know that gets complicated. So
yeah, that certainly gets complicated, and in this plan that I'm pitching, we'll use the example of, I forget what property that was over near Coldbrook. Whittemore. Yeah. So the gentleman that was here 2 meetings ago, he was interested in Coldbrook and doing trail work there, but the existing trail is lousy in regard to wetlands, and the way that it's mapped out crosses so many times. And so, we'd maybe want to see an alternative analysis. I don't know if others agree with me, to show a trail that doesn't cross the streams as many times, because stream crossings are, we don't take those lightly when we get applications for stream crossings either. So, I mean, I'm wondering if, at this time of year, it's still February, if we got ducks in a row. I'm not sure if the Conservation Commission has this in the budget, but if the Open Space Committee wanted to come up with a request for proposals to look at these things, to try to get trails remapped and crossings identified and concept designs and all that together in one application, that'd be a huge step forward for a lot of these.
Jake, check your email. I just sent you a map.
Oh, you got it.
I think there is a lot of files to go through, but I found something.
Great, that's perfect. I was just stalling all that time.
But I think part of the rationale for creating this Trailblazers was that open space almost felt like they had their hands full with preserving open space, and there wasn't enough people, or enough volunteer hours.
Open Space still a group?
Open Space is an official town committee.
Okay, but the Friends of Open Space?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Yeah. Well, they haven't been very active.
Okay.
Yeah, they're very small and pretty inactive.
Okay, all right.
So, this was, the Trailblazers were just going to be not a town committee, just a group of people, volunteers.
Perfect, that's what we need.
So I'm not sure about your idea. Would that work for open space to request that, then give it to Trailblazers to request some? blanket kind of approval.
I think what Brittany's provided is the go-ahead for the reroute that you were talking about. This is the plan for the reroute on Brickyard Road. Are you seeing what I'm seeing with yellow as the existing trail?
Oh yeah, I'm seeing a big green ribbon, but that's the river, right?
Yeah, so this is the delineated wetland.
Oh, that's the wetlands.
The
Okay.
reroute here. And Brittany, I'm assuming this is connected to the original NOI that was submitted in the whole plan.
Oh, yes. Hang on.
Figure 2 Brickyard Road Trailhead Project area.
So,
But I mean, since so much time has passed and all, I don't know that we still have the capability to add the new loop trail. Maybe just, yeah, and now I see the loop trail. Whereas the old trail, is that the red one? It's hard to see.
Old trail is yellow.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. It was submitted under the 2022 NOI.
Yeah, so you have the green light for this. This project has been approved. I'm glad that we're able to dig this up now and get you a positive answer on that. So this is the plan. We should send this to Diana.
Yeah, but I'm not sure, personally, I wouldn't know how to proceed with that. I wouldn't be able to go out there and say, okay, now the trail goes here. And I don't know if that's something that George could do, could come and say, this is where the trail deviates from where it was. And
yeah,
if you're interested, I have the whole everything that was prepared by Emily Stockman.
I mean, we need to know it's got to end up where the bridge is going.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I mean, do we need to go back? I honestly have not been to that side of Manahan Meadows. I don't know if we need to just make another visit.
We just need the stretch that I thought would change was pretty short. So we just need, to know exactly where that stretch will be. And maybe there are people on this committee who could look at this map and know where the trail should go.
Yeah, this is like one of the only properties I'm familiar with. So
this is one of the only ones I'm really not familiar with.
Yeah, like maybe we should go out there. It would be helpful for people doing work if trees were flagged.
Right.
Yeah, I know that I need to go out here anyway and spread seeds. This is where the treatment area was for the invasives, so that we have a whole bunch of wild wetland seed mix that needs to go around here. It would be great if those files that you're seeing, Brittany, also included like GPX files for a GPS unit, so I could load that up.
Oh Lordy. I'm getting technical.
Yeah, but if not, that's fine. All I know is that this is the parking lot and this right here is a very steep slope. And so it makes sense that they're doing this whole meander.
Yeah. And does it make sense to bring the bridge in here as opposed to the other side? Are you familiar with the other side?
Yeah, I think it's all about the same. We had, gosh, this was never my project. But I think we talked about bringing it in from the other side because of the railroad right away.
Yeah, that's true. And it's not as steep. There is a steep section here. But still, once we bring it in, it'd be nice to be able to penetrate the other side.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that this could be a field day. I volunteer myself, and if anyone else wanted to go, any show of hands field day, maybe a Saturday, maybe a Sunday.
Could do it.
Saturday and Sundays are good for me. I don't work on those days.
Okay, because I have work to do here already with the invasive plant treatment stuff. And Brittany, since you have this, could you follow up with an email to the group that includes all the documentation, the NOI, any submitted files,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
then we'll coordinate a day.
Sure. Yeah, I'm looking for GPS stuff right now, but there's 75 pages. So
Wow.
Well, hopefully they have a topo map. That'd be just as good.
Oh my, this will take some time. So I don't want to hold up the meeting.
Okay.
But I will send
Great. So I think the group is meeting again in March, so I can let them know that we could start here if they want, maybe.
Yeah, we would just have to flag it out ahead of time for, what we have a permit for. So that works out really great. Did you say they won't meet again until March, or they were planning to work in March?
They're planning to meet in March, early March, I think, and then maybe start working. I think, yeah, George is also working with one of the fellows involved for a little bog bridge in Clark Family Homestead.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll have to get out ahead of all the trail work that people want to do this year. That's a good one. This is a ready-made project. We should carry that out this summer so we don't have to renew.
Right, yeah.
Do you have updates about the bridge project? You mentioned it, but could you give us an overview where we are with that?
Maybe George would be better to do that.
George?
Yes. I've been I've been reaching out to Jeff Collingwood on the specs for the bridge. Have not received any response, and we're still trying.
Is that because it's a prefab structure and they're having issues with the supplier?
I don't know. I will reach out to Jeff again, see if I can get some more definitive answers.
Okay. Thank you.
This is Stephen. Could someone recap the bidding? And what I mean is, when do the grants paying for this expire? And how can I help expedite this?
The grant expires at the end of this year. We had a 1-year extension. It would have expired at the end of last year, but because of COVID, we were able to get a 1-year extension. But I think it's pretty sensitive because the town is also interested in quite a few other mass trails grants for the Greenway. And if we end up, having to give this one back, I don't think they're going to look very favorably on those others. So
we got to get this moving, and this is one place where I would volunteer to help.
There was another consultant too that George brought into the loop, and he lives here in town, another engineering consultant, David Cameron. I don't know if anyone knows him, but he's supposed to be helping as well.
Yeah, David's a wetlands guy. It sounds like we need to hear back from our engineers about mobilizing now at this point. So, Stephen, hearing your enthusiasm for the project, I really do appreciate that. George, do you want to CC Stephen?
Yes, I will.
That would be excellent, just to get some more names on the email chain, and maybe we can stir things up and start hearing back from folks about making this happen.
The grant from Mass Trails is $50,000, and we've already got about $58,000 in matching CPC funds for it all.
Great.
All right, guys.
So I know that
call it a night.
The Chapter 91 license came through, but are you going to need a 404 permit from the Army Corps?
No, I don't think so, because I don't
even say that.
No, we don't touch the bottom of the stream. It's a full span bridge.
Thank you.
Brittany is calling it a night. Yeah, I think we should start wrapping things up. It's been a pretty full agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from December 18th?
I'll second that, or I'll move that. Sorry. make a motion to approve them as.
Bye-bye.
I'll
And
second
Dan,
that.
we have a second from Lexi. Do the roll call. Haley?
I'm so sorry. It's really hard on this phone. Yes, I
hear you. Richard?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Taylor? We lost Taylor. Lehan? Aye. That's 4. Okay, treasurer's report. Lexi, do you have that ready?
I don't have a treasurer's report just because I saw George had sent the what looked like the conditions of accounts just a few days ago. So that kind of sums it up.
Okay.
If I can jump in here for the select board finance committee, you are past the deadline for submitting your budget requests for FY25. And it is urgent that you get in a submission with rationale. And Chair Chris Fowles provided us, Brittany, with a form of submission because it does have to be formatted in a particular way. But it was due on January 31st, and sorry, I'm just the bearer of bad news.
Okay, yeah. Does that usually fall under the purview of the treasurer?
I think the chair and the commission, however they choose to handle it, but the treasurer would know what the details are. I haven't been through this in Southampton previously.
Okay, yeah. We've been kind of stutter stepping since losing a few members.
Right.
Yeah, that we'll have to get on that.
Well, and one mid to longer range proposal, and we look forward to seeing the Collins report, what they suggest about structuring municipal government and compensating employees, is whether there are some unmet needs in town building around land resources. So we're grateful to have a part-time agent for the commission, but the planning board also has a part-time consultant, and the Board of Assessors has no one. And there might be rationale for combining those several needs into a larger scope of service by ourselves or in partnership with another similarly situated municipality. So as the work before us continues to grow more and more complex, that's a question. And, I signed the warrant for the town. I signed the license, not the check, but really, the town has a license for ArcGIS. The water commissioners are the holders of the license, but I question whether the town's getting maximum value out of it. Water commissioners, EMS, everyone. So I digress on software, but I started with human resources. These are mid-range things to think about. Not when you're overdue for the FY25 budget request. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll need to figure that out. And it does remind me, I think we're using ARPA funds to bolster George's position as the agent for now. Does that mean that we should be submitting, I don't know, that we'll have to submit for, we'd like to keep George on. I'm not sure how to do that though.
I apologize for not giving you a heads up. I got this notice about 4 o'clock this afternoon, but it really is urgent, and there are no more uncommitted ARPA funds. So it implies to me, and I really am shooting from the hip, that your budget, absent ARPA funds going forward, would not be a level budget, but it would be an increase. But I'm not even sure what you compare to, because there's been so much turnover and I'm brand new in town.
Okay. Yeah. I think I don't know where to start with that. So I'd have to defer to perhaps Lexi and George can get the ball rolling on meeting that budget request.
Yeah, I'm gonna touch base with Art, and I assume he'll be able to help me out with it.
Yeah, I'm glad that he's still available to talk it out like that. It's great.
Yeah.
Great.
Stephen, it's been great having you in this meeting.
I feel like I've stirred the pot. Thank you for welcoming me.
Okay, so we cannot vote on the treasurer's report, and just looking to see if I'm missing anything. Sorry, this is why I'm not chair. If I was chair, every meeting would be 2 hours. Do we have anything for correspondence? Doesn't look like it. Upcoming meeting dates, we have March 4th, March 18th, and then April 1st. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Great. Roll call. Haley?
Johnson, aye.
Richard?
Aye.
Leon? Aye.
Aye.
Great. Okay, everyone. Thanks for bearing with me.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.